Emma froze at her daughter Lily's innocent question, her heart pounding as she stared across the fence at their new neighbor. His kind eyes met hers, waiting for an answer she didn't have. How could she explain to her 6-year-old that she wasn't talking about a stray puppy, but about the handsome single father who had moved in next door just 3 weeks ago? If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more heartwarming content that will leave you smiling through tears. Let's continue. The spring breeze carried the scent of freshly cut grass as Emma watched her daughter swing happily on the tire hanging from the oak tree in their backyard. 3 years had passed since her divorce, 3 years of rebuilding her life brick by brick, creating a safe haven for Lily. Emma had sworn off relationships, focusing solely on her daughter and her budding photography business. The walls around her heart were high and sturdy, until Daniel Sullivan and his son Ethan moved in next door. "Look, Mama. Mr. Dan is building a treehouse." Lily's excited voice pulled Emma from her thoughts. Sure enough, their neighbor was on a ladder against an old maple tree, tools scattered across his lawn, determination etched on his face. "Do you think Ethan will let me play in it too?" Lily asked, her blue eyes wide with hope. "I'm sure he will, sweetie. But let's not bother Mr. Sullivan while he's working," Emma replied, trying not to stare at the way Daniel's t-shirt stretched across his shoulders as he hammered. "But he looks like he needs help," Lily insisted, already slipping through the gap in the fence before Emma could stop her. Daniel turned at the sound of small footsteps, his serious expression melting into a smile that made Emma's stomach flutter. "Well, hello there, Miss Lily. Coming to inspect my work?" "I can help," Lily announced proudly. "My mama says I'm very good at helping." Daniel glanced over at Emma, who stood frozen by the fence, embarrassment warming her cheeks. "Does she now? Well, I could definitely use an assistant. And maybe your mama would like to join us too." Before Emma could formulate an excuse, Lily was already dragging her through the fence opening. "Mama takes pictures of buildings and trees and stuff. She can take pictures of your treehouse when it's done." Daniel's eyes lit up with interest. "A photographer? That's impressive." "It's just a small business," Emma said modestly, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Mostly local clients, nothing fancy." "She's in magazines sometimes," Lily added helpfully. "And she made a whole book of pictures." Daniel's eyebrows rose. "Now that does sound fancy. I'd love to see your work sometime." The afternoon unfolded in unexpected ways, with Emma finding herself handing tools to Daniel, steadying wood pieces, and laughing more than she had in years. Ethan returned from his grandmother's house and joined them, his 9-year-old earnestness a perfect complement to Lily's bubbly enthusiasm. As twilight approached, Daniel invited them to stay for impromptu backyard burgers. "It's nothing special," he said, "but it's the least I can offer after all your help." Emma should have said no. She had deadlines to meet, emails to answer. But the hopeful look on Lily's face and something else, something warm and forgotten in her own heart, made her nod in agreement. Over dinner, Emma learned that Daniel was an architectural engineer who had moved from Seattle after his wife died of cancer 2 years ago. "A fresh start," he explained, flipping burgers with practiced ease. "My mother-in-law lives about 20 minutes from here. She helps with Ethan when I travel for work." "I'm sorry about your wife," Emma said softly. Daniel's eyes, the color of stormy skies, met hers. "Thank you. It's been a journey. Some days are harder than others." Emma nodded, understanding all too well. "The kids seem to be getting along," she observed, watching as Lily and Ethan chased fireflies at the edge of the yard. "Ethan's been struggling to make friends since we moved. He's shy, like his mother was." Daniel's voice carried a gentle sadness. "This is the happiest I've seen him in months." That evening marked the beginning of something neither Emma nor Daniel had been looking for. Over the following weeks, their lives began to intertwine naturally, like two streams flowing together. Daniel called Emma when he needed a photographer for his firm's project portfolio. Emma found herself accepting his offer to pick up Lily from school on days when her photo shoots ran late. The treehouse became a second home for both children, with homework sessions and afternoon snacks becoming part of their routine. Emma's kitchen, once quiet except for Lily's chatter, now often echoed with the sounds of Daniel teaching both children how to make his famous pancakes on Saturday mornings. But Emma's heart remained cautious, scarred from a marriage that had dissolved under the weight of betrayal and neglect. Her ex-husband had made promises he couldn't keep, prioritizing his career and eventually another woman over his family. The thought of trusting again, of opening herself and Lily to potential heartbreak, terrified her. "You're overthinking again," her sister Olivia said during their weekly phone call. "From everything you've told me, Daniel sounds nothing like Mark." "It's not just about me," Emma argued, keeping her voice low as she folded laundry. "Lily adores him and Ethan. If things don't work out." "And if they do?" Olivia challenged. "Are you really going to let fear rob you both of happiness?" The question lingered in Emma's mind as spring melted into summer. She watched Daniel coaching Ethan's Little League team, his patience never wavering as he helped the less skilled players. She noticed how he always knelt to be eye level with Lily when she spoke to him, giving her his full attention no matter how trivial her 6-year-old concerns might seem. One evening, as fireflies danced in the gathering dusk, Daniel invited Emma to sit on his porch after the children had fallen asleep watching a movie inside. "I have something for you," he said, handing her a small, carefully wrapped package. Inside was a delicate silver frame containing a photograph, one Emma had taken weeks ago of Daniel with both children in the treehouse, all three laughing at something now forgotten. The image captured pure joy, the kind that couldn't be posed or manufactured. "How did you get this?" Emma asked, tracing the edge of the frame. "I may have enlisted Olivia's help," Daniel admitted with a sheepish smile. "She gave me access to your cloud storage." "Traitor," Emma murmured, but she couldn't stop looking at the photograph. "Emma," Daniel said softly, his voice serious now. "I need to tell you something." Her heart stuttered as she looked up at him, at the nervous determination in his eyes. "Ethan asked me last night if you and Lily could stay forever," he said. "And I realized that's exactly what I want too." Emma's breath caught. "Daniel. I'm not rushing you," he hurried to add. "I know you have reasons to be careful. I know trust doesn't come easy after what you've been through. But I need you to know that what I feel for you, for both you and Lily, it's real. It's the kind of real I never thought I'd find again after losing Claire." Tears pricked at Emma's eyes as Daniel gently took her hand in his. "I'm not asking for an answer tonight," he continued. "I'm just asking you to be open to the possibility of us. To not close the door before we've had a chance to see what could be." That night, Emma lay awake long after Lily had fallen asleep beside her, their impromptu movie night at Daniel's having turned into an impromptu sleepover in the guest room when both children had crashed. The house creaked softly around them, unfamiliar yet somehow comforting. The next morning, Emma woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of quiet laughter. Following the noise to the kitchen, she paused in the doorway, taking in the scene before her. Daniel was teaching Lily how to flip pancakes, his large hands guiding her small ones on the spatula handle. Ethan was setting the table, carefully counting out forks and napkins. It was such a simple moment, yet it struck Emma with unexpected force. This was what a family looked like. Not perfect, not without complications, but whole in all the ways that mattered. Lily spotted her first. "Mama. Look, I'm making breakfast." When Daniel turned to her, his smile holding a question, Emma felt something shift inside her heart. The walls she had built weren't crumbling exactly, but perhaps a door was opening, just a crack. Their delicate balance shifted 2 weeks later when Daniel received an urgent call from his mother-in-law. She had fallen and broken her hip, requiring surgery and weeks of rehabilitation. Without hesitation, Daniel invited her to stay with them during her recovery. "I know it's a lot," he told Emma as they walked through the park, watching the children race ahead. Having Margaret here will change things. She's Ethan's grandmother, Emma said simply. Of course she should be with you both. What Emma didn't anticipate was Margaret's frosty reception. Claire's mother was a dignified woman with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. From the moment she arrived, leaning heavily on a walker, she made her disapproval clear. Claire's pictures should remain on the mantel, she said firmly when she noticed Daniel had rearranged the living room to accommodate her hospital bed. The unspoken accusation hung in the air, that Daniel was erasing his late wife's memory. Emma tried to be understanding. She's protective of her daughter's place in your lives, she told Daniel after a particularly tense dinner where Margaret had pointedly reminisced about Claire's cooking. It's natural. It doesn't give her the right to be unkind to you, Daniel responded, the frustration evident in his voice. The situation came to a head when Lily, innocent and unaware of the undercurrents, bounded into Margaret's room clutching a drawing. Look what I made for you, Mrs. Margaret. It's all of us at the beach. Margaret examined the childish artwork, stick figures representing Daniel, Ethan, Emma, Lily, and Margaret herself, standing under a yellow sun with exaggerated rays. That's very nice, dear, but I'm afraid you've made a mistake. This isn't a picture of a family. Lily's smile faltered. But it's us. We're going to the beach next weekend. A real family has a mother and father who are married, Margaret said, her tone gentle but her words sharp. Your mother and Ethan's father are just neighbors. Emma, who had been passing by the doorway, froze at the words. Lily's small face crumpled in confusion as she looked from Margaret to her mother. That's enough, Margaret, Daniel said firmly, appearing behind Emma. His hand found the small of her back, a silent gesture of support. Lily, why don't you show Ethan your drawing? I think he's in the treehouse. Once Lily had left, clutching her picture with considerably less enthusiasm, Daniel closed the door and faced his mother-in-law. Emma tried to step away, to give them privacy, but Daniel kept her by his side. I will always honor Claire's memory, he said, his voice low but steady. She will always be Ethan's mother, and I will make sure he never forgets her. But she would be the first person to tell me to find happiness again. To build a new family. Margaret's eyes filled with tears. She was my only child, she whispered. Sometimes I feel like if you move on, if you build this new life, there will be nothing left of her. Emma's heart ached for the older woman. Without thinking, she moved to sit beside Margaret on the bed. I lost my father when I was 12, she said quietly. And I was terrified of forgetting him. My mother remarried when I was 15, and I hated my stepfather for trying to take my dad's place. Margaret looked at her with surprise, perhaps seeing her clearly for the first time. But he wasn't taking my dad's place, Emma continued. He was creating his own. And it took me years to realize that loving him didn't mean betraying my father's memory. She hesitated before adding, would never try to replace Claire in Ethan's life. Or in yours. The room was silent for a long moment before Margaret reached out a trembling hand to cover Emma's. No words were spoken, but something had shifted, a beginning of understanding, perhaps even acceptance. The weeks that followed brought gradual change. Margaret began asking Emma about her photography, even suggesting locations that might make good subjects. She showed Lily how to make Claire's famous snickerdoodle cookies, the kitchen filling with laughter as flour dusted their noses. One evening, as Emma helped Margaret sort through old photographs for a memory book she was creating for Ethan, the older woman paused over a picture of Claire holding her newborn son. She would have liked you, Margaret said softly. Claire always valued authenticity in people. She would have appreciated how you care for both children equally, not just your own. Emma's throat tightened with unexpected emotion. Thank you for saying that, she managed. Margaret smiled, a genuine warmth in her eyes. Daniel's different when he's with you. Lighter. After Claire died, I worried he'd never find his way back to joy. She carefully placed the photograph in the album. I was wrong to resist what was happening. Some loves don't replace others, they exist alongside them. By the time Margaret moved back to her own home, with a promise to visit often, autumn was painting the trees in fiery hues. The treehouse had been winterized with Daniel's engineering expertise and Emma's decorative touch, becoming a year-round haven for the children. On a crisp October afternoon, Emma sat on her porch editing photographs when Lily burst through the front door, Ethan close behind her. "Mama! Mr. Dan got hurt." Lily's words tumbled out in panic. "He was fixing the roof and the ladder fell." Emma's heart plummeted as she raced next door, finding Daniel lying on the ground, his face pale with pain. A call to emergency services confirmed 3 broken ribs and a fractured wrist, requiring a hospital stay and weeks of recovery. "I can manage," Daniel insisted from his hospital bed, frustration evident in every line of his body. "I don't want to impose." "It's not imposing when it's family," Emma said firmly, surprising herself with the certainty in her voice. "Ethan will stay with us until you're back on your feet." No arguments. In the days that followed, Emma juggled her work with caring for both children and making regular hospital visits. She rescheduled photo shoots, worked late into the night to meet deadlines, and somehow managed to maintain a semblance of normalcy for Ethan and Lily. When Daniel was finally released, Emma had already rearranged her living room to accommodate a temporary bed, knowing the stairs in his house would be impossible with his injuries. "You've thought of everything," Daniel said, emotion making his voice rough as he looked around the transformed space. "Not everything," Emma admitted with a small smile. "I still can't cook like you do. The kids have had more pizza this week than in the past year." Their new normal evolved organically, Emma working from home while Daniel recovered, the children adapting to homework routines at Emma's dining table, movie nights where all 4 of them crowded onto the sofa. What had once been 2 separate households had melded into one, boundaries blurring with each passing day. One evening, with both children finally asleep, Emma found Daniel sitting on the porch swing, gazing at the stars despite the autumn chill. "You should be resting," she scolded gently, wrapping a blanket around his shoulders. "I've been thinking," he said, making room for her beside him. "About how sometimes the worst things lead us to the best things." Emma settled next to him, drawn to his warmth. "What do you mean?" "If Claire hadn't gotten sick, I might never have moved here. If I hadn't fallen off that ladder, we might have continued just as we were, neighbors who care for each other but still separate." He turned to face her, his eyes reflecting the porch light. "Life has taken so much from both of us, Emma. But look what it's given us in return." He reached for her hand, his touch sending warmth through her despite the cool evening air. "I don't want to go back to my house when I'm healed," he said softly. "I don't want to go back to being neighbors." Emma's heart raced, equal parts fear and hope surging through her. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I love you. I've loved you since you handed me a wrench for that treehouse and told me my design was structurally unsound." His smile was tender, teasing. "I'm saying I love Lily as if she were my own. And I hope, you feel the same way about Ethan." Emma felt tears gather in her eyes, but they weren't tears of sadness or fear. "I do," she whispered. "I love you both so much."